Georgi Tumasyan, coming to us from Tbilisi. Georgi, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us here at A News. Now, if you had to describe what has changed in this past month in Armenia, what would you point to as the most significant development?
Thank you for having me. Of course, it's about securing post-election stability in Armenia, which is there and which is very important in order to have further development related to the peace agenda as well as to the trip development. We are already seeing measurable steps in the direction, and I believe that further months will give us opportunity to have more outcomes related to the peace process, to the trip project as well. The implementation is basically started. That's what we hoped for and what's going on right now.
Yerevan is right now trying to get closer to Brussels, while also saying it's attempting to mend its relationship with Moscow. What are your thoughts on how long can Armenia balance the two?
I believe that next 5 years for sure, and maybe even further, Armenia is seeking balanced foreign policy, and the aim of that is to survive in this geopolitical turbulence. And I believe that the pragmatic policy of Azerbaijan, for example, is a great example for many countries that it's possible to have different type of relations with different centers of geopolitical interests, but with main direction, securing your own geopolitical interests. So I believe Armenia and Azerbaijan now have quite a similar foreign policy related to that, with some differences, like relations with EU is quite different. With Russia, we also see that Armenia and Azerbaijan are now trying to improve relations with Russia, which was damaged by Moscow's initiative recently.
We've seen Armenia's prime minister reject Russia's request to hold a referendum on leaving the Moscow-led Eurasian Economic Union in favor of pursuing EU membership. Moscow has exerted a certain degree of economic pressure with import bans and the like, but do you expect it to escalate?
I think that chances are quite low for escalation right now, and the civil contract will do what's needed in order to prevent further escalation. Having constructive relations with Russia is positive for Armenia and for Russia itself, I believe, and not interfering in Armenia's internal policy and political developments is very important, because what we saw during last few months is direct interference, and I believe that here as well Armenia's and Azerbaijan's position is quite similar. Intervention in internal affairs. At the same time, interference in internal relations and internal policy was connected also to the peace process, and I'm sure that Yerevan is not happy about that.
Georgi, when it comes to the peace process between Armenia and Azerbaijan, from Baku's perspective, it cannot be completed without Armenia amending its constitution. Normalization with Ankara also hinges on the peace with Baku. What can Yerevan now do to advance the process?
I believe that there is huge room in order to take the measurable steps in direction of real peace process on the ground. It's border demarcation delimitation, it's opening communications, trade, civil society communication, society to society, trip project implementation, which is very important, opening connections with Turkey, like having everything needed, except at the moment, change of constitution, which is obviously blocked because of lacking constitutional majority in the parliament. So I really hope that Baku and Ankara as well will rate the process on real steps instead of just one mentioning in the constitution, which mentions, the independence declaration, which mentions Karabakh. So the core idea is that the time of change of constitution will come, but unfortunately this time is not right now due to Armenia's internal situation. I mean, basically there are lacking of mandates. Of course, I hope that there will be opportunity to somehow make sure that opposition supports few parliamentaries at least support the idea, but unfortunately, I don't think that it's really possible. Understanding internal policies, which Baku understands as well, I am sure. So it's just about having real peace, which will eventually lead to the removal of this limitation as well and finalization of peace process.
On that real peace, we have messages from both Armenia and Azerbaijan that the two countries are now living peace. But on that trip project, Armenia has began the ratification process. How important is it for such practical, specific projects to be implemented for the stability, not only of the relations between the two countries, but of the entire region?
Well, it's very important. The region is changing its face. It's becoming from the region of confrontation to the region of peace and cooperation, transit. And we also see outcomes of that, like the president of Azerbaijan mentioned that, and it was quite right, of course, qualification for the reality that right now when we have challenging situation in market and some supplies in that direction, Azerbaijan is a reliable partner in that direction. So I believe this implementation of three project interconnectivity, we also saw the signing of document related to the internet traffic connections via Azerbaijan and via Armenia to Nakhichevan and so on. The process is showing that trust is built step by step, and there is a huge possibility to have prosperous reality for Armenia and for Azerbaijan due to this huge importance of the middle corridor, which is connecting wider regions. So this could benefit and benefit the peace process. And here I, of course, value the personal positions of Minister for Armenia and President of Azerbaijan.
And briefly, Georgi, with ties to the Collective Security Treaty Organization now frozen, who can Armenia now rely on for security?
Well, for Armenia, it's not about relying on someone, and it should not be like that. It's about first of all, relying on yourself, your diplomacy, your military, your nation, and again, I think that the era of global engagement and trying to bring some powers to the region is somehow closed and over. Instead of that, we have multidimensional foreign policy with different players. Azerbaijan is doing that, Armenia is also doing that, and instead of that, I believe having peace process with Baku, normalization with Ankara is the best peace guarantee for Armenia, security guarantee for Armenia, as well as developing its own military and opportunities like every sovereign country is doing. But at the same time, of course, development of cooperation with the Western countries is balancing what Armenia was missing for a long time of having one lined foreign policy. I believe that the core principle should be that it's not against someone, against any country, and the unique situation which we have right now when it's more about cooperation and partnership in the region, and the logic of region is now about cooperation instead of confrontation, should be developed further and kept for sure.
Indeed, Georgi, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your insight.
Thank you.